Piero, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you. Our first guest ever.
Well, thank you very much for having me,
Of
ladies.
course, I'm so excited for this. So we wanted to start off talking about the beginning. Take us back to your childhood. Where are you from? How did it start off? How are you here now?
My childhood. Well, I was born in Palermo, Sicily. My childhood was a very happy one, I must say. My mom, all she did was look after me, cook, and make sure that I got to school on time. I left Sicily with my family when I was 12 years old, headed for America, the American dream. My dad had siblings here. He had a brother in New York City and another one in Chicago who left Sicily when they were in their teens. And my dad always had the dream to meet them again in this beautiful nation.
Yeah.
And he did. Packed everything. At the tender age, I think at the time, he must have been in his 40s. Takes a lot of guts.
How old were you?
I was 12.
Okay.
And we embarked on the Volcano. That was the mothership at the time. It took about 18 days.
Oh my God.
Of which I spent 9 of them in my bunk because the ocean was savage at the time.
Oh my God, I can't even.
And I was never able to get up after the 9th day. In fact, they had to give me an intravenous to feed me because I almost died.
Oh my God.
Now I know how Columbus felt.
You know, I was going to say something like the Mayflower.
But take us back, because how was it truly growing up in Italy from when you were born to the age of 12? What did you do on your day-to-day? What was school like? What were your parents like? How strict were they with you?
Very strict.
Give us an example.
I'll give you an example. I could not move away from my street or my block when I was 6, 7 years old to go play with my friends because my mom was always at the balcony watching me. So, which is not a bad thing.
Well,
because
you were the only child?
I was the only child, yes. I'm still an only child.
Yes.
After so many years. And my parents were strict with me because my dad was the type of man, very strong-tempered. And my mom was always more worried about what my father would do to me than anything else happening to me in the street if I didn't listen to them.
Right.
So they kept me at bay. You know, when you're a kid in Italy, and like any other school, children play, they hit each other, they play along.
Yeah.
So I grew up a normal kid. Of course, 6, 7, 8 years old. By the time I left, I was 12. Not too much was going to happen anyway. Although today is different than it was then.
Yeah.
Today kids, they get hooked up on drugs when they're 10 years old. And they do things that are not supposed to. Luckily, my children.
Luckily, your children.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that back then it was different than it is today?
Well, first of all, it wasn't readily available as it is today, obviously. And today, there's so many more drugs on the market. I don't even know.
I mean, with your phone, I think it's just way more accessible. You can just get it.
Right.
But I feel like you could get away with a lot more back then than you could today.
That's also true.
Today, someone seeing a picture, texting, oh, I just saw this person buying drugs from this person.
I mean, obviously, technology has made this world different than when it was then. I don't know if you could get away from much more then, because there wasn't that much more.
I feel like you could rob a bank back then.
The thing those days was smoking. I mean, first of all, everybody thought it was cool, and don't forget, I was born in 48.
Right.
That's 1948.
So you're aging yourself.
So the big thing was smoking cigarettes, and we were so ignorant at the time, not just in Italy, but the whole world,
Right.
Yeah.
that cigarette smoking was not cool.
Yeah.
Cigarette smoking kills.
But it's the same in Italy still.
Yes.
Especially in Palermo.
Of course. So the cool thing was the smoke. Just like they do drugs today, now you had to hide when you smoked a cigarette. And God forbid your father would catch you smoke a cigarette, even though the father smoked like a fiend. He didn't want the kids to smoke.
What age did you smoke your first cigarette?
My first cigarette, that's really crazy. My cousins who were older were smoking. I must have been, the first time I took a puff, 12 years old.
Oh my God.
Just before I left for America. And it was the most disgusting thing I'd ever tasted. In fact, I personally don't smoke. I never liked it. I started smoking a little bit when I went in the army at 18. in this country.
Yeah.
And then I gave it up. It was just a horrible thing. It was being done because it was cool.
Yeah, everyone at that age, you just want to be cool, so you're just, peer pressure,
Right,
try
right.
and whatnot. So then you came to the US, and then how was that? You're in a new country, do you speak the language, do you know how to speak English?
Very scary.
You have no siblings, so how did you make friends?
It was very scary.
How about your parents? Like, were they more stressed? How was
My mom was the most stressed.
Yeah.
Because we lived in Brooklyn, that's where I grew up. And Brooklyn was not like Palermo. First of all, none of us spoke English. My father thought he did.
And Brooklyn is also not how it is today. It's not Dumbo and Williamsburg, like the way it's Soho House.
No.
And
Although Brooklyn, where I grew up, was a beautiful neighborhood. It's called Carroll Gardens, which today, a townhouse is $11 million.
Crazy.
But those days, it was a neighborhood where mostly Italian. There was some Irish and some Puerto Ricans, but predominantly it was Italian where I lived.
So that's nice, at least you found a community.
Right.
You felt somewhat at home.
It was fun. It was also good because we got to taste the same foods that we left. It wasn't that difficult. The difficult part was, of course, I had no friends.
Yeah.
I didn't speak the language. And during those days, there was a lot of gangs. So the Irish used to fight the Italians used to fight the Puerto Ricans, the Puerto Ricans used to fight the African Americans. It was a chaos.
So like walking home from school, would you be scared for your life?
Walking home from school was a legend.
A legend.
No, really, it was incredible. Fights that I used to get into before school, after school,
Oh my God.
and during school. So
And was it more of a power thing, or did people want to take your lunch money, or what was going on?
it was a territorial thing. It was a racial thing. It was mostly those things. Don't cross this street because the street belongs to us. That street you can't cross because it belongs to them. It was territorial, and it was a power struggle. Who was going to be the best? The Irish, the Puerto Ricans, the Italians.
So would you like step up and fight, or were you like, I'm not really going to participate, I'm going to step away and like not engage?
No. You didn't have a choice. You had to engage.
Or else you die.
No.
You just like get by and not really be seen?
As much as I could when I knew I was outnumbered.
Yeah.
But a lot of times with friends that I had, and we were together, and we engaged into some fights, and luckily my beautiful face remained.
So from the age of 12 until 18, this was the ongoing event every single day?
Yes.
Imagine moving somewhere and then having to fight people when you get there.
Yes. It was difficult times.
So then you mentioned that you were in the military.
I was in the military. During those times, they drafted you. It wasn't.
What year was it?
That was 1967.
We were
We were in Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Right. And in fact, I went through all the training, basic training, advanced infantry training, and everything else ready to be shipped out to Vietnam. What happened was, I wasn't a citizen, and my mom was fighting and saying that he's my only son. What if he gets killed? There's nobody else to carry on the legacy. She went to the Italian consulate. The Italian consulate got involved. Make a long story short, I stayed in the military, but they did not ship me to Vietnam.
Well, they weren't supposed to because you were an only child and not a U.S. citizen.
So how do they draft you if you're not?
They draft you regardless because it was a war
back
for
then.
us.
Yeah.
I stayed in really some shithole place called Fort Polk, Louisiana. Oh my God.
Sorry if you're from Fort Polk.
It was
So how long were you in training before they, you?
6 months. 6 months.
And take us through a day of training.
You start with basic training, which is 2 months. They shipped me to Fort Gordon, Georgia. There you do 8 weeks of intense training. Once you pass that and they put you through physical, mental, and then of course you had to shoot the necessary evils, all the weapons that you needed to train on. And once you did that and you passed all the tests, then you passed basic training. Then you would get a leave for, I think it was 3-4 days, came back, and then you went to AIT, Advanced Infantry Training, because I was infantry. Then they send you to another place. And there you have to go to bivouac, which is you leave your barracks and you got to go out into the field weeks on end. You have to make your own tent, you eat. You have food that is from cans. And you have to train all over again. You got this big rucksack, but I don't know how many pounds of material.
Was that like hard for you, like mentally, like to be far from your family now, and to be like living?
It didn't destroy me. I mean, it made me stronger, but it was terrible because I was used to going to, at the time, discotheques.
Right. Like you went from having your freedom, your life.
No. I was strictly rigid. And having to train to learn how to live and stay alive in Vietnam, because that's what they were training you for.
Right.
So it was difficult.
Were you scared?
Of course I was scared.
Did you think that you were actually going to end up going?
Of course.
Most of the people that were in basic training were expected to go to Vietnam.
Well, no, not necessarily, because they could deploy you to Germany or other places. But the bulk was Vietnam, because that's where they needed the troops.
Did you have friends that actually ended up going?
Yes, I had friends that ended up going, and I had 2 friends that died. So it was a very bad experience I had, but...
So how was it living in the U.S.? I mean, I guess right now we also have a lot of wars like that. I feel like back then it was different though. How was the climate here?
Well, don't forget, I came from Sicily, which is the south, just like we are here in the south, rather than, say, New York City.
Yeah.
The climate was seasonal, and the winters were horrible.
No, I mean like social climate. Like people were like,
social climate, even worse.
I mean, like how are people in general here? Like, do you think it was different back then to how it is today when we have these wars in other places? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like back then people felt it more.
Felt what?
Now that we were at war and people were going out there to fight. I feel like people now are more...
I think the nation back then almost was more united when it came to the war, and I could be wrong, but it felt this way from history, and everyone's coming together to like protect the troops and bring food, and the woman would be in first aid, and now it's like everyone's just fighting all the time.
Everyone's like connected through social media, but I think that we also are so desensitized and we have so many other distractions.
During that time, the big thing was Vietnam.
Right.
And this country was torn a little bit apart from Vietnam. Nobody wanted to go that was here. They were saying, bring our soldiers back. The ones that were there felt unappreciated for what they were doing from here. So it was difficult, very difficult. Vietnam really, I think, hurt this nation from what happened. And really, we didn't resolve anything. The minute we left, everything was the same. We were going to take away communism from that country and make them all that. Nothing like that ever happened. And you know what? History repeats itself.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. You can't do that. The minute we leave Afghanistan, everything goes back. I mean, the Taliban, everything goes back. You're not going to be the sheriff of the world. It's not that easy.
Yeah. So this experience that you went through in the military, do you regret it? Are you happy you went through it? Would you recommend?
I don't regret it. No, I learned a lot from it. The rigid ways that they had instilled a lot of good things in my own persona. So I don't regret it.
That you still use today, you think?
Do I still use it today? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. It stays with you. It makes you more disciplined. It embarks you in a way that you know what to expect.
Yeah.
So
you come back from the military or from training, and then what do you start to do for work? What's your first job like? Where do you transition?
Well, where I wound up was in a lot of places. One of them was on Wall Street, believe it or not.
So how old were you when you started working on Wall Street?
I was 18.
Oh, so right after you started working.
Right after I started working. I never stayed a day without working since I remember, you know.
But you went to Wall Street. You didn't go to college because you got drafted.
You didn't go to college. That's interesting.
I finished high school, and that was
You didn't want to go to college?
I didn't want to go to college.
Okay.
I hate sitting and reading and studying, and I'm more of a person.
You're like a doer. You learn on the job, you want to go out and do it.
But I'm more of a people person.
Yes.
I could have probably done anything I wanted.
Yeah.
You know, but I hated studying.
Well, I think you've done pretty well for yourself. You've done amazing.
So what happened was I went to an agency and I said, I need a job. What do you have? I had no idea really what I wanted to do. And one of them was on Wall Street with the brokerage firm, Payne Weber, as a matter of fact, I remember. And I'm pretty good with numbers. They gave me a test and they put me in a cage, is what it's called, with stocks and bonds. And again, it wasn't my thing. Sitting there studying these monitors, and no, I was more of a people person.
Yeah.
So then I got another job at Manufacturers Hanover Trust, a bank. One of the things I needed to do was to go over loans that were overdue, take these files with people that didn't pay their loans, and I had to call them and try to talk them into making a payment.
That probably went well.
Oh my God, the stories I used to hear.
So you're a natural salesman.
I am a natural salesman. I like people. So I stayed there for a little while. That didn't go well. Then I got another job with an insurance company, selling insurance. There I met my good friend Marvin Silverman, who today is still my friend. My boss at the time. He dressed horribly. I taught him how to dress. Told him to get a different haircut.
Oh my God.
So we became good friends, and through that I learned an awful lot about people. Selling insurance wasn't the easiest thing. From New York we moved then to Washington, D.C., from Washington, D.C. to Austin, Texas, where I had to drive 100 miles from Austin into these farmers' home, knock on their door, trying to sell them a policy. I got attacked by 2 dogs. I almost got killed. I said, that's it, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, you're literally, it's like door knocking.
And
something we definitely don't do as much nowadays.
We did it once in the pristine neighborhood of Coral Gables, and I was scared.
It's scary to go up to somebody and get rejected.
The fear,
how is that like getting rejected all the time?
The fear of the unknown is the worst. Because
so
you don't
how
know.
would you get over that? Like you now just slip off of it?
Yeah, it makes you stronger. It makes you stronger.
So you don't care to get rejected at all?
Of course you care. We all care.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Some people can be like, that's...
we put it aside and we go on and on.
Yeah. I think we need to go back and do that.
Yeah, we gotta do better. It would be like, it's like my turn, like, well, you're on the side of the door, so you should just go.
But anyway, at one point I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I always said an eye for restaurants. I love going to nice
So
restaurants.
how long has all this, so you went to Wall Street, you did...
I was 19 years old when I got to Massachusetts Indemnity. That was the name of the company, the insurance company. I was there for 5 years.
So you were like 25, 26?
Right. So one day I decided that I didn't want to do it anymore. Before I even moved to Austin. And I told my boss, Marvin, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. The hard part was telling my dad. So when I told my dad, I said, Pa, I got to talk to you. And I said, I really don't like what I'm doing. And he said, so what do you want to do? So I said, I want to be a waiter. Now, how do you tell your father that brought you from Sicily to America that your career was going to be being a waiter?
And at the time, you were making pretty good money in insurance, obviously.
Yes, but I hated what I did.
Right.
And I wasn't going to do it anymore, even if it was good money. And I went in a suit and everything, but nothing.
Yeah.
And what happened was my father and I, we didn't see things eye to eye, but what could he do? So I went and I got a job. The first job I got was at Adam's Apple on First Avenue in Manhattan, which was like a restaurant club.
Okay, fun.
And I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I went there and I took the order. The music was blasting at night. It turned like into more of a nightclub.
Yeah.
It was fun.
What year was this?
That was 1975.
In New York.
Really fun.
1975 in New York. Like that is a time to talk about.
Spectacular. My hair was all in place, not like now.
You looked like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever.
Absolutely. I looked great. And I really loved what the industry was like. So from there, my boss calls me back. He says to me, look, we got a great deal going. They give us the territory in Texas. Let's go back to the business. He talks me into it. I go back to the business. I go
For
down
insurance?
for insurance.
So you stop being a waiter, you go back to Texas.
I went back. And at the time I was living in Washington, D.C. by then. So I went back. I hated it. I left it and I started working in a restaurant.
Right.
An Italian restaurant, high-end restaurant where you had to wear a tuxedo and do the service, French service. In D.C. So I learned that part because I'm a very quick learner when it comes to food, especially in service. And I did it very well. Marvin calls me again. He says, come on, let's go to Texas. And Marvin.
He just wants you to keep coming back.
I still hate him. So we go to Texas. That didn't work out. I got attacked by dogs. I had to do all this. I'm in Texas 1 year. That was a great experience being there, Austin. I come back to D.C. I said, this is it. I go back to work in D.C. I start again. I love what I did.
As a waiter?
As a waiter. Well, a waiter captain is what it's called, because you take the order, you open the wines, you do the service, you bone the fish, all French service by the table. Nothing like today. That was real service. So during this time, the owner of the restaurant I worked at has a meeting with Mr. Whitman, who owns Bal Harbour Shops here in Bal Harbour. They strike a deal, and the owner is now opening a restaurant in Bal Harbour Shops called Tiberio. So he looks at me and he talks to me and he says, look, how would you like to move to Miami and be the general manager at this restaurant I'm opening in Bal Harbour? At first I said no. Then I somehow said, why not? It's another adventure. I come down to Bal Harbour, I love it immediately.
Yeah.
I take on the job at Tiberio in Bal Harbour Shops as the general manager and maitre d'. And I start working there. After about 3 years, I realized where my life was going. Something inside me told me, you're not going to do this anymore. You're not going to go into the next step. So I go to the owner and I say to him, listen, I'm done being a manager and a maitre d'. Sell me 20%, 25% of this business. And since you are never here, you're in Washington all the time. And I run it like it's my own. And I love it. It's my passion. I'll buy 25%. He looked at me and he said, no, I'm going to increase your salary. I said, I don't want a salary. You're not listening.
Yeah.
He said, I want to be an owner now. He said to me, no. So I shook his hand and I said, you got 2 weeks to find another guy. I was determined. I meet a guy in the meantime. We go into partnership. We get a restaurant around the corner from Bal Harbour, right on King Concourse, 96th Street. This business had gone out of business. It was there 1 year. It was a previous restaurant. We take it, we open it, and we opened my first restaurant called Piero.
Piero.
And the rest is history. What happened there was, it was my first experience. Obviously, I learned a few things which I could have done better. But the restaurant went well.
So you left Tiberio?
I left Tiberio. He couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Needless to say, that restaurant closed after a few years.
Because you weren't running it anymore.
It made a big difference. From Piero Restaurant, then we opened another one in Coral Gables on Ponce de Leon.
Amazing.
Called Tanino, Café Tanino.
That sounds so cute.
I know.
From there, we looked at South Beach, where Mezzanotte was born, on Washington and 12th. That was 1988, where South Beach was nothing yet. We opened that one, that becomes an instant success.
I know, my mom would go there when she was young.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was an incredible place.
What made that restaurant so popular?
What made it popular was there was something different. And what made it popular, I don't want to say and sound like it was me, because I gave it my energy, my utmost life. I was there 24/7.
I think that's really important though, because people, sometimes they want something to work out, but they're not giving it their all. And it really is you and the energy you're putting into it.
It's
What
true.
is what you're going to get out.
And the concept that I designed and created, some of it came by luck, by chance, by vision, where I gave it the energy it needed for South Beach. And at the time, all the modeling agencies were opening, and all these young models used to come in. And then I somehow started putting the music a little louder and louder, and people loved it. And I remember I made the Gypsy Kings famous with Bamboleo. I would put on Bamboleo and everybody used to love it.
God.
And then I one day took a woman, I said, get on the table, don't worry. She got on the table and started dancing. Women started getting on tables and dancing, and it became an instant success.
For people that aren't picturing how iconic this is, it was literally Bagatelle, but with a better crowd and better music and less of the foo-foo shit around it.
Also,
right? It's like
back
just
then when that didn't really exist. It was like
Exactly.
the only one of its kind.
No, it's true.
It's
So-
like genuinely people, like now we see on social media with like Bagatelle and Hassalon and these places
Yeah,
with like
oh,
the
yeah.
napkin in the air, but it's
Yeah.
like shit food, a shit crowd,
Shit service.
neon lights, $1 billion.
It's true.
It's like going to your favorite restaurant with all of your favorite people all the time with the Gypsy Kings on. Dancing
No,
on
it
the
was
table.
fun. And I made it fun because, I mean, my energy, I'm a very energetic place.
Yeah, you are.
This angelic look, don't let it fool you.
But it's interesting because everybody talks about this term overnight success. And here you are, 75 years old, so successful, but you still go to work every single day.
Were you supposed to say 75 years old?
Well, you said you were born in 1948, so. But the point is, you still go to work every single day.
Every day.
And of course, you live a much more relaxed lifestyle. Now you're not coming home at 4 a.m. with blood on your suit because people got into a fight because they were drunk.
True.
But it's like you still are putting in the hours and the work.
Yes, and it's true. And I remember at the time, if I had dates, because I was single, I would come home with blood on my shirt or lipstick on my shirt.
They're like, what the hell?
And the girl I was dating would look at me and say, what's going on? I said, you don't understand. I said, I'm a victim of my own image. But all kidding aside, I devoted myself to, I had no life.
But you loved it.
I loved it. And that's what made it real. That's what made it successful. I absolutely love it. And what I say is follow your passion. No matter what you do in life, you have to follow that passion.
How did you find your passion? Because I think a lot of people nowadays are so lost, and especially at our age, our friends.
Personally,
How do you find it?
how I found my passion was the following. I love communicating with people, make them smile, make them laugh, entertain them. I am a born entertainer because I'm a drummer and I sang with a group. I love center stage.
Yeah.
I'm not some kind of guy that's shy. I love entertaining you. So if I put all these things together, I love food, I know food, I love concepts, I know what to put in a menu with the location I'm in and what concept to design and how to go about it. So when I put all these things together, that's my passion. My passion is people, food, entertaining, making you laugh, making you smile, and make some money. I mean, I realized that I liked flying first class.
Yeah.
So, but don't misunderstand me. I never took it for granted, and still today I don't.
Yeah.
I still know what it is to go to work, and I still know what it is to take care of that person that's going to take care of my business.
Yeah.
So I never lost sight of any of that.
Yeah. I think that people sometimes they see their passion, they're like, oh, well, I'm really passionate. They want to say like fashion or like they go to the industry, but what you're saying are actual things that you know about yourself. Like, I know that I love people. That's a passion. I know that I love food. So really, you understand yourself, you know yourself, and then you sort of just put that into, it doesn't have to be hospitality. It could have been, I don't know, marketing, but you're just knowing yourself, and then you put that together, and then you're like, oh, I can do this job, right? It happens to be restaurants, but I feel like people like to attach a passion to an actual job. Like, oh, I want to be passionate about real estate. Well, maybe it's not real estate. Maybe it's, I'm a good people person. I love people. I want to help them. And then it bottles up into real estate or whatever, right?
True.
So I think that's really interesting how you put it that way.
I think in any business, you have to have the passion for that particular business.
Yes, I think, yeah.
You know, so whether you're an actor, a musician, a real estate agent.
But I think sometimes it's just hard for them to like find what it is. So it's a good place to start when you start to actually just know what you like and what you're good at naturally.
True.
To at least give you some sort of start.
All the things that I do have to do with what I love.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, food,
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
entertaining. To me, a restaurant is an experience. Still today, also as a patron. When I go to eat in a restaurant, I don't want to go there to eat. I want to go there to eat, yes. But I want an experience.
So what is it that makes you so different? How have you been able to sustain this restaurant in Bal Harbour Shops, the most expensive mall in America, for 30 years? Because we have Tao Group, we have Group Hospitality, we have Major Food Group, with all of these big brand names with so much money and marketing to back them. How do you possibly stay alive?
I am hands-on.
Meaning what?
Meaning that I am in my restaurant. How many restaurants you go to today where the owner is in the restaurant?
Very few.
Exactly.
Zero.
Probably zero.
You.
You.
One, carpaccio.
I have to give credit to my partner.
Yeah.
Manuel is a spectacular, hands-on chef, worker, detail man, all the things that he does really takes care of the part that sometimes I overlook. What I am very good at is to keeping our image, to keeping you happy, to make sure that the service is perfect, to make sure that the customer is happy. I make an ambassador out of my customer.
I love
He
that.
becomes my ambassador. He has the experience that when he walks out, he can't wait to tell people where he
I
was.
mean, there's always a line outside of carpaccio, and I think that to this day, I mean, you guys do marketing, but
Very
I want to
little.
say that over the last 30 years, you don't market yourselves the way that these other restaurants do that are trending, and people are still coming and talking about it.
That's true.
And I think it's because of word of mouth. Everyone's like, oh, we went there, carpaccio's great. Like,
Yes.
but it is, like you said, your customer is your ambassador.
And I am the best at what I do.
Well, speaking of that, how do you keep your team motivated? Because if you go to this restaurant in the wintertime, the line is like wrapped around the entire mall. The tables are constantly turning. I've seen waiters put their heads in ice buckets and scream because they're so stressed out. And how do you work in this high pressure environment? And how, because it's your restaurant, you care the most. So it's easier for you to be able to stay there and work because it's your baby. How do you motivate your employees to want to stay there and work for you?
Well, first of all, money talks. And as crazy as it sounds, I don't want to say it because the IRS may be listening, but a lot of my servers have been with me for 15 years and above. They make a good living. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to give up a great living doing what we do. Let's face it, in our industry, you don't get really college graduates as lifers. If you're a college graduate, you're going to do it a little bit, be a server, make some money and leave. Our servers are service professionals who make a great living, who take care of their family from this business, and they take care of their job. With a little help from me and explaining to them, yes, we're going to have problems. How we deal with problems is what it's all about.
Yeah.
There are casualties in war. There's going to be people that are going to die. Ultimately, you're going to win the war if you have less casualties. And how do you do it? Focus. Don't step on a mine. Don't go, hey, excuse me, you get shot. You've got to minimize your casualties. And how do you do it? Product knowledge, focusing, being really a self-served person and say, why am I here today? What am I going to do today for this business? And really motivate them to that. If you don't, then you're just going to be a server walking around, prancing around. And we are not order takers. We are professional table consultants. That's what I tell my people. You're not a waiter. You're a table consultant. And you consult. And how? You got to gain people's trust when they sit down. When you go to a restaurant and your server comes over and he gives you that feeling that you can trust him, don't you feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you trust him, the way he treats you, then you're going to have a better experience. And then the food and how he handles things, it's the same thing.
Something I love about the restaurant industry is how humble it is in a way, because a restaurant cannot function without the woman that cleans the bathroom, without the person who folds the napkin, without the server, without the owner, without the cook, without the chef. It's like every single piece is what makes the experience, and one is not better than the other, in my opinion.
You're absolutely right. Without those components, if one of them fails, you're not going to be a very good restaurant. You're going to last long. A football team, a baseball team, it's the same thing. Anything that has to do with a team, every component has to work. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's not going to last.
Yeah, no, I think that's great because it really makes everyone feel like you actually are a very important piece. Even to tell your team, like, everyone's important. You guys are all doing something that is adding to the big picture. So that way no one feels less than the other.
And what I believe in, treating my people the way I want my people to treat my customer. Mm-hmm. And I always say it. We are not in the food business. We are in the people business serving food.
Mm-hmm. So now that you've been doing this for 30 however many years, you've obviously come to build, it seems, your dream life. And I think it's important to note that growing up, when you left Sicily to go to New York, you had no money and you've built this life for yourself. So now that, once you got your first taste of success, what did that feel like? And how did you decide that this was now going to be your life and you were never going to change your work ethic or go back?
Once I started feeling the success, I would have done anything in my life, never ever to go back to not being successful.
Did you think that you would be this successful?
No. And one of the reasons is money never motivated me. What motivated me was being somebody successful, was being able to sustain a business, not close it, and do it better and better and better. Because it wasn't the money part that really motivated me. It was me being successful. It was me being able to hold my head up, walk down the street, and when people would see me, they say, "That's Piero. He has the most incredible restaurant." That's what I wanted. And that's what I loved. Not the money. The money comes.
Yeah, the money comes, it follows.
But what I wanted was the success. And I never wanted to let go of that. And I did what I had to do in order to keep that. As they say, the most difficult part is not getting to the top, it's staying at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I wanted to do. And I worked as hard as I had to in order to maintain what I had achieved, what was mine, rightfully so.
So looking back at your whole entire life, that you've done so many things, you've moved, you went to the to the army, and then you've had so many different restaurants. Do you have any regrets?
Do I have any regrets? No.
None.
If I was to
Great
do it,
answer.
I would do it all over again the same way.
Would you tell your younger self anything?
Would I tell my younger self anything?
Or what would you tell your younger self?
What would I tell my younger self? I would have probably followed also my career as an entertainer, singer, drummer, actor.
It's a lot of hats.
Well, maybe one of those would have clicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it's what it is.
Yeah.
Because I am still very happy, and being successful in my industry makes me very proud. I love that. Through that, I was able to have a family.
Yeah.
And be able to send them to the best schools and best hairdressers.
I did this myself. Well, we have to ask you because, as we've already stated, your age, you're very handsome, eclectic, energetic for your age. So tell us about your daily routines. What does your diet look like? What do you usually eat in a day? Are you working out? What are you doing?
Well, one thing that I can put out there, and I know that it's a cliche, do not use drugs.
No, I wasn't expecting that.
That's a really great answer.
Do
though.
not. That is the most time-consuming waste of time, stupidity any human being can do.
Do you categorize alcohol
I was
as a
gonna
drug?
ask, do you think drinking is included? Not the occasional wine glass, but
And abusing alcohol is also the next thing that I would tell you. You don't have to have so much alcohol to have a good time.
yeah.
Okay. My daily routine, I wake up early. I wake up right around 7 o'clock. I have my cappuccino. Then I go to Lagos Country Club, where I'm very grateful to be able to afford it. Go have a little breakfast.
What do you have for breakfast?
What I have for breakfast sometimes is an avocado smash, poached egg.
Healthy.
Yes, I eat very healthy.
Yeah.
Or an egg white omelet with vegetables.
Have you always eaten healthy?
Since my mother always taught me to eat healthy, I have.
So that was always a habit of yours?
Yes, it was. I don't like greasy foods and fries and all that. I once in a while have
Right,
it, of course.
right.
Oh, sweets. I don't indulge in sweets so much. Then I play tennis. I play tennis 3 to 4 days a week. I go to the gym twice a week.
Oh, so you
Lift
move a lot.
weights.
You're very active.
Sometimes you
active.
play tennis for
That's amazing.
4 hours too.
No, but that is amazing.
Yes, I'm very energetic.
Have you always been active? I mean, I guess also in the restaurant, you're very physically active.
Yes, I've always been
You've always
active.
been active.
Even as a kid in Sicily, I used to play soccer. And when I came to America, in my junior high school, I was in the junior high school soccer team. So I've always been active. I love to wear clothes, so you have to slim down a little bit during the weather. And then I shower, and I go to the restaurant every day. I get to the restaurant around 11:30. I talk to the managers, go to the kitchen, look at the specials. Then I meet with Manuel, my partner, who takes care of the kitchen very well as well. We have lunch, we discuss. Once a week I meet with my bookkeeper on Thursdays. We pay all our bills weekly. We go over the payroll, we go over the food costs, and we see how much is left over. And then we do a distribution once a month of the profits. After that, around 3:30, 4 o'clock, I leave. I'm lucky I live across the street now. I go and relax a little bit, look my emails, and now I also have a restaurant in Hollywood.
Yes.
Sometimes I go up to Hollywood, see what they're doing there, or I go back to Carpaccio around 6:30, stay a couple of hours, and I go back home and watch a little Netflix, relax.
Yeah.
And now that my daughter told me about Johnny Carson, I read about him.
I actually have to ask this question. sorry, it just came to my head and I have to ask. Growing up, obviously not being able to afford these beautiful suits, like what made you such a fashionable person?
I will explain it to you.
Okay.
Going to Italy in the summer where everything is so cheap and so sales, I usually used to get my wardrobe there. So to give you an idea, with a minimal, maybe $1,000, there I was able to get jackets, pants, suits, shirts, and bring them back and wear them. I wasn't able to buy things at Saks Fifth Avenue. Right. And I've been very lucky because I have an Italian body. You can get them from a rack and put them on me and they'll look good. Huh? Like these. These are bought in Italy, on sale. This is €100. And originally $1,000. So you go in July, in Italy they don't care. They'll give them away for 10% because the new fashion is coming.
Yeah.
So I buy the right way.
Yeah.
But what made me
Buying smart.
what made me elegant was also the work that I did after the army. Everything I had to do had to be in a suit.
Yeah.
Whether I was on Wall Street or at the bank or an insurance agent. And I liked the way I looked at them. And I kept it up. And now to me it comes natural to just wear nice clothes.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I think your secret is olive oil. A good olive oil.
I love olive oil.
That's a family secret.
It's a family secret.
Wow, okay. Well, this has been an insane hour.
Yeah, I just have one last question for you. So we always give our listeners a practical tip, one takeaway that they could use in their lives to actually make some sort of difference, to better themselves, find their passion, something. So what is your one practical tip for our listeners today?
Follow your passion. I don't care what it is. If you like to paint walls, do it. If you love what you're doing, you're going to be the best at it and you're going to be happy. So, if you follow your passion, it's going to make you happy and it's going to make you successful. If not, become a waiter.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Love you both.
Bye.
Mwah.